welcome back. So, at the end of last year, I did a review of the new Star Wars movie. And in that review, I didn't do any spoilers. I may have done a slight one when I said too strong, too fast. But other than that, there were no spoilers. This time, I'm going to talk about Star Wars again. And I will go over some spoilers in this one that I can go more in depth. The movie's been out for a month, at least in the theaters. And I've seen it a couple of times, and a lot of people have. It broke several records, and it probably will be the highest grossing movie ever. So I figured everybody's already seen it, so I can probably now talk about the spoilers of this movie. Alright, let's talk about this first. Now, it's the spoiler that so many people on the internet were trying to just ruin for everyone. They're taking screenshots of the movie, and they were just trying to say, oh, this happened, and at the beginning of like a comment, if you go on Facebook sometimes, certain pages, humor websites, the comments, some jagoff will say the spoiler for the movie is like, geez, what a joyless turd you must be to do this. And it was interesting because I actually saw a nice little meme about this, where this drawing of a guy, he's like kind of smirking, that I just ruined the ending of the Star Wars, and then the next part of the meme is, I'm so lonely. Basically, that's how it comes across, to be honest. So, the spoiler, of course, I'm talking about is our death in the movie, which is Han Solo. Yes, Han does die in the movie, and personally, I was alright with it, and the way they did it was pretty cool, in a sense that you were kind of waiting for it to happen, because it's one of those situations where you're like, don't do it, Han, don't do it, Han, don't do it, but it happens, and you're like, oh, especially if you're a big fan of Han Solo, you're like, oh. I remember I watched it the first time with some friends, and one of my friends told me that he thought that Han was going to be in the entire trilogy, and just to have him die in the first movie is kind of a shocker. And if you think about it, it had to happen in a sense that there had to be some big death in the first movie of the trilogy, because look at the original trilogy and the prequel trilogy, you had a big death in both of those first movies. So it kind of makes sense, since we're doing a lot of the same stuff that you have seen in the previous trilogies. So it's not really doing something new. It's just pulling a twist on the old cliches, I guess you want to call them, the old routine from the previous movies. But I was like, oh, Han. And then I liked Chewie's reaction when that happened. And we had this discussion of some friends of mine. Will Han come back? I say no, Han's not going to come back. Only because, especially not as like a blue ghost. Maybe we'll see him in like a flashback scene if they do that sort of thing. But they probably won't have Han show up as a blue ghost, because that's a Force thing, and Han never used the Force. He used the lightsaber once as a tool, but not as a weapon. Speaking of the lightsaber, I actually like the fact that the lightsaber chose its wielder. My uncle, when I watched it with him, the second time I watched it with the family members, my uncle was saying that, yeah, very Harry Potter-esque, kind of mockingly, but yeah, it is kind of Harry Potter-esque, but I liked it because it added something that had been taken away from the prequel trilogies, which was an essence of mysticism. Because one thing I really hated in the first prequel movie was midichlorians, because it tried to make a scientific explanation for something that didn't need a scientific explanation. It's the Force. It just is. It doesn't need an explanation. And how come some people can use it and some people don't? If some people can use it, who cares? it's just you're chosen in a sense, and that I always liked that. So the midi-chlorian thing was always like, oh really, you're trying to bring science to this? We didn't need science. It just was. So yeah, I kind of like that. Even though I'll skip ahead to the last fight scene. I did not like. I'm not gonna say hated it. I didn't like the fact that Rey just had to basically close her eyes for 18 seconds. I counted, yeah. And all of a sudden she was able to kick ass with a weapon she has never used before against somebody who has been trained to use it in Kylo Ren. Like I said, Kylo Ren was a villain that wasn't really brought up and built that well in this movie. Not as well as Finn was, especially Finn. And Rey was built up pretty well, but like I said, she is the character that I alluded to as too strong, too fast. And definitely with being able to wield a lightsaber with precision and kick ass of somebody who knows how to wield it without any training whatsoever, just by closing her eyes for 18 seconds and then using several different force abilities that it takes people years to master, that Luke had trouble with, the force pull. Come on, she just used that so easily, and it was one thing I didn't like, is she kept on using all these different force powers immediately without any training, without any help whatsoever. I was like, it kind of takes away from the character because there's no growth, there's no build up for the later movies. So I don't know what you do with her in the later movies, since she basically doesn't need training. She's going to go to Luke Skywalker for training. She basically doesn't need it. And I didn't like that because, like I said, it takes away from possible character growth in the future. And I like, especially since it's a trilogy, you could have spaced this out like you did with Luke in the original trilogy. He didn't know how to use, the Force choke until the third movie, or even the Jedi mind trick until the third movie. So it was kind of one of those things like, was not a fan of that, to be honest. I liked Finn. Finn using the lightsaber was better because he didn't know how to use it. He was a blaster person, so him trying to use a lightsaber, and he was okay at times, but you could tell he was out of his element. And I like that. And I like the character Finn. He's, like I said, he's the one that got the most character growth in this movie. And he was actually pretty funny too. I enjoy the humor from Finn, like when he's interacting with BB-8. And the fact that you can see that he was not someone who learned things. He was just programmed, basically like a machine, to only know these things. And like when he tried to talk to BB-8, he didn't know what BB-8 was saying because he didn't understand the language that BB-8 was using. He didn't understand what Chewie was saying because it was never taught to him. It was only being a stormtrooper, using this weapon, doing this duty, and that's it. He didn't know any other way. And to see him basically learn to be Finn, in a sense, was fun for me to watch. And I look forward to seeing him do more in the second movie and possibly the third movie if they don't kill him off. Speaking of, at the end of the movie, Finn is just, let's face it, Rey walked out of that planet, the Death Planet, let's call it that, the Death Planet. She walked out without a scratch on her. There was not a scratch on her. Meanwhile, Finn got the crap beaten out of him, especially by Kylo Ren in that lightsaber fight. And then he's the one basically unconscious and almost looked like he was in a coma. Rey didn't even wait for him to wake up before she said goodbye. And so the thing that I want to know, there are a couple things I want to know for the next movie is, will the writer, the director, J.J. Abrams, will they have the guts to mutilate Rey? Here's what I mean by this. If you look at the second movie through the prequel trilogy and the original trilogy, the main protagonist Jedi in both of the movies loses a limb. Yeah. In the infamous scene, Luke loses his hand in Empire Strikes Back. And in the Attack of the Clones, Anakin loses an arm up to the elbow, I believe. So will they be willing to have that sort of thing? You don't have to chop a limb off. You can just like scratch your, lightsaber slash right across the face or something, some sort of wound to show that she is out of her element, like Luke was in Empire, or Anakin was in the Attack of the Clones. Are you willing to do that, or are you afraid of offending, people? Or, oh, you can't do that to a woman. You can't do that to a woman, because if you're really talking about equality, do it to her. Or are you just gonna be too scared to? Oh, you can't have a woman get her hand or finger chopped off, so you might as well just take it out on the black guy because he's a freaking punching bag apparently in the damn movie. Yeah, Finn towards the end was the punching bag. He was the one that got his ass kicked by Kylo Ren, and while Rey just closes her eyes for 18 seconds and knows how to fight like she's been trained for years. So all in all, like I said, these are gripes. I didn't want to talk about them because I didn't want to spoil the movie. And some of the stuff, like I said, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the humor. BB-8 was a good character, and his interactions with Finn were funny. I liked seeing the stars from the previous, the original trilogy come back, and it had a good cliffhanger for the next movie. It will probably come out in 2018, and I'm looking 2017, 2018, something around there. I'm looking forward to it. But I gotta talk about these things in this spoiler review so that I can get my thoughts down and my own speculations of what's going to happen in the future. Like I said, will they actually have the guts to mutilate Rey in some way, or is she just gonna, go through the next movie without a scratch on her, fight Snoke, fight Snoke, who's Kylo Ren's master, and just beat his ass like it's no big deal, and walk out there without a scratch on her? Are they going to do that, or are they going to no, you're going to get your ass kicked in this movie, and then you might end up getting cut really bad or losing a hand? We'll see what they do. Like I said, I'm looking forward to it. I enjoyed the movie. Probably would buy it on Blu-ray when it comes out. But right now, I'm more looking forward to just seeing what the next two movies are going to be about and how well those movies are presented. So, what do you think? What do you think of the things I brought up in this video, the spoiler review? So, I've got another video coming out this week, and after that, there's something else I need to do as well with regards to wrestling. So, until next time, bye.